Hey folks, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you with a long-form podcast talk type of video, and this one comes from my friend Daryl. He is our Sergeant Lyles, as I used to remember him by, because he was my TI, or training instructor, in BMT, basic military training, and he's been in for, God, like 23 years at this point, I think, and 24 years, so he's been in a long time. He got in at 17, so he's 40, early 40s. I don't want to do math right now. And thinking of another career. And I said, what would be a good idea would be to, I think, take some of your stories and make a YouTube channel. People would love it because he's in a different career field than I was in. And when there's three career fields that people have like the most pride in, but really nobody wants. It's 2T2, which was I was in. There's services, and then there's security forces. And Sergeant Lyles in security forces, and he's got they're like the badasses of the most of the Air Force. Then you have PJs, which are hella different, and any type of battlefield airman is just hella different. That's just a different world. That's just they're cut from a different cloth. And I said, what would be a good idea is you have a bunch of stories, go over them. And okay, review movies, review scenes in TV shows. Be like, okay, this is real. This is not real. Oh, actually, I do remember when this happened. And this wouldn't happen because this, and this. And he said, oh, yeah, I think that'd be a fun idea. So I'm going to do something similar to that. Because in pretty much a lot of big movies you see 2T2s from the military. You saw them in Avatar, the Blue Indian movie, where that one guy gets crushed from, he's between two pallets, they're like 10,000-pound pallets each, and he gets crushed, which is one of my biggest fears as 2T2. You see him in one of the Avengers, or Captain America, basically the guys that drive the staircase trucks, the guys that tie down the equipment. That was pretty much what I did. And you see him in a lot of different movies, so it's pretty cool. But a question I saw Jocko Willink take was saying that, how would you have fared in World War I? And it's kind of hard for me to answer because Air Force didn't exist in World War I. So I'm not sure what branch I'd be in. Probably be the Army. I mean, knowing what I know now, I'd try to get some type of intelligence job. But I don't know if they let brown people do that back in the day, in the early 1900s. So most likely it'd be Army, most likely it'd be infantry, just in the trenches. And again, knowing what I know now, especially just knowing history, it'd be like, okay, this is a god-awful, like no man's land. This is a god-awful way to spend a few days in just waiting to die. Like, you're not going to make any forward progress. And now that we know, okay, we can try to get something up in the sky. Like, at that point, I don't know, contract the Wright brothers and say, what can you get up in the sky? We'll have people do it, drop grenades or whatever. And just because we know now that a lot of what they tried just did not work at all. Would I have had the mindset at, 18, 20? Because I didn't go in until I was 21. So would I have had the mindset when I was 18, 20? So hey, no, we shouldn't do this. We should do this. And I did that in, while I was in the Air Force, in much more comfortable positions where, I wasn't in danger of getting shot 24/7 or, frag 24/7, or I was just, okay, in Kuwait, and or even just in New Jersey, I'd say hey, there's a more efficient way to do this. You can do it this way. And so I've done that before, but again, not when I was a little older. And again, in a much more comfortable position. So I don't know. I'd probably have I'd probably just get hey, shut the fuck up. You're brown. Just do what you're told. And I'd probably be like, okay, yeah. I didn't become really disagreeable until after a couple of years at the military. It's very agreeable. I didn't become disagreeable and conscientious until after a couple of years. You become hardened. But the idea, World War I, I probably would have died, like most other people. It probably would not have been a good time. But I would be curious to see what the mindset of everyone else was like Do they still joke around? Do they still have like a fucked up sense of humor like we do? Because back in the day, you went and you came back and you didn't talk about it. You know, we didn't have like, they called it shell shock. You know, it wasn't, PTSD wasn't really recognized. They just called it shell shock. Oh yeah, he gets like that once in a while. And you didn't have the services. You didn't have therapy. I don't think people knew the medicinal effects of mushrooms or LSD. I don't even know if LSD was a thing back then. You went to war, you came back, and you didn't talk about it. That's just what happened. And I feel like now maybe people aren't as mentally strong, because now, you know, a lot of people, stronger men than me, they need help. They need to go and they need to like talk about it, or else it eats up at them. Or back in the day, you didn't really have that. And they were still, again, it was a different time. So I don't want to say fine, because at that point you're still like beating your children, and I think beating your wives too. And it's just, this is a different world. Would I have survived? No. I'm going to say that's the answer. I would not have survived. World War II, I guess it wasn't too far off. It was, you know, 25 years. Well, the U.S. didn't join until, I guess 28 years after World War I, or 26. And that's something that really not a lot of technological advances had happened. And when I say that, I mean like no strives toward like a type 1 civilization. There was no really World 1 type of, or type 1 type of telephone system like we have now, like the internet. The only thing you had maybe was fashion, just because everything was uniform. But the biggest technological advances were just bombs, so there's really not too much difference. You know, minorities are still kind of very looked down upon. So I would say probably would, although the Army Air Force at that time, I would have probably been there. I don't know what I would have done. I guess probably rigger packing chutes for guys to go jump off. Maybe something in medicine. Combat medic probably would have been. Tulsi Gabbard does that, and she's one of the only Democrats I really respect, just because, you know, that's what she does. So that's something I'd probably like to do. Dr. Ron Paul, Congressman of Texas, did that as well. Well, he was a doctor, so, but that's probably something that I would try. Again, these are just speculation. Let me know if any of my viewers are veterans. How would you have survived in World War I or World War II? Would you have done well? Would you have done what I had done? Oh, I got a decline on this deal. All right, guys, I got to go. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. I love you all. Class dismissed.